Hey, how you doing? As lame as that sounded, I just couldn't think of a better way to start off the episode than with Joey's iconic pickup line. The first Friends episode aired all the way back in 1994, but it is still regarded as one of the best TV shows of all time. The show isn't just loved by nostalgic 30 and 40-year-olds, but also a whole new generation of kids born and raised on the internet. All of its 236 episodes are available online, and it's amazing how young millennials and Gen Zers around the world see parts of themselves reflected in the show that has no sign of Instagram and TikTok, typical Gen Z stuff. In this episode, we're going to talk about how the impact of Friends on pop culture has endured years after its heyday, and how it continues to make money as newer generations discover and fall in love with the show. This is Siddhant, and welcome to another episode of Let's Do Shots. Or should I say, the one where we talk about friends. Shows have come and shows have gone, but none of them have been as successful as the world's favorite sitcom, Friends. And when I say successful, I'm talking about it from a business point of view. Thanks to the continued support from fans all over the world, the studio and the cast continue to earn significant profits even after 17 years of the show being over. Warner Brothers earns almost $1 billion each year just by allowing other networks to broadcast and stream the show. And it isn't just the studio, all six cast members get a piece of the pie as well. For the work they did between 1994 and 2004, the cast members earn almost $20 million each year, even today in 2021. But this is now. Ever wondered how much the cast of Friends made during filming? It began with about $20,000 per episode in the first season, but as the storyline between Rachel and Ross became a focal point in season 2, not all of the six cast members were paid equally. This, of course, didn't sit right with the tight knit cast, and at one point, Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer even threatened to leave the show if all the co stars were not paid an equal amount. Can you imagine Rachel and Ross being played by anyone else but them? They weren't kidding when they said, "I'll be there for you." From the third season on, all six members of the cast were paid an equal $100,000, and at the show's peak, each of them were taking home $1 million per episode. But it didn't end there. The stars still make a huge amount of money long after giving up their seats at Central Park. Let's talk about the business behind the streaming rights. Netflix originally bought the streaming rights to the show in 2015 for $30 million and paid an additional $100 million in 2018 to keep the show running on its platform for just another year. To put things in perspective, The Crown, which is Netflix's most expensive production, cost them about $130 million to make. And the streaming giant paid almost the same amount to keep Friends running. In 2019, HBO Max outbid Netflix and paid about $500 million for the streaming rights in the US. But enough about numbers. What impact has the show had on culture? First up, it revolutionized the stories we saw on television. Back in the day when it was first released, sitcoms were mostly about suburban families. While there were a couple of hits such as Seinfeld set in the workplace, no show had explored the ties of friendship and the experience of growing up. Friends grabbed the attention of the young urban population by showing them people that were just like them. They were just six friends living in New York City, making mistakes and figuring out life along the way. And people loved it. You can describe someone as a Monica or say, "Hey, you're such a Ross," and everyone will know exactly what you mean. The Friends format inspired hit shows like How I Met Your Mother, Sex and the City, and The Big Bang Theory as well. The show even started a fashion movement. According to a alleged study, 11 million women got the memorable Rachel haircut in the UK at some point in their lives. To put this number in perspective, this is 33% of the female population in the UK. You know what's ironic about this? Jennifer Aniston herself actually hates the hairdo, and yet Gen Z icons like Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber have been spotted in the hairstyle. If you thought that was influential, let's talk about baby names. The name Emma soared into the top 10 list for baby girls in 2002, the same year that Rachel gave birth to her baby with Ross. Coincidence? I think not. Believe it or not, the show even inspired coffee culture. It wasn't common for people to hang out in cafes back in the early 90s. The producers thought Central Park as a setting would not work because it wasn't relatable, and they suggested a diner instead. But the writers remained adamant, and cafes became the new cool hangout spots for millions of teens and young adults as the show became popular. When the show debuted in India, it was just following the call center boom. And these call center employees were actually asked to watch Friends as part of their training with the American accent. While it has reigned supreme on the top 10 list of the most watched shows on Netflix, many aspects of the show have not aged well. It has often been criticized for the lack of diversity in its all white cast. The only notable character of color came in season 9 with Charlie Wheeler, Ross's love interest, and she featured only in 9 episodes out of the 236. The show frequently made the trans community the butt of the joke, with Chandler's dad, and Monica's self worth was tied to her physical transformation, with many fat jokes spewed at her expense. While these aspects are, of course, problematic and should not be overlooked, Friends still remains one of the most loved sitcoms across generations. Despite its flaws, it was progressive in many ways. It started meaningful conversations about the LGBTQ community, with the portrayal of Susan and Carol, a lesbian couple, preparing to welcome their son Ben in the world with Ross playing dad on the side. It did not shy away from women displaying their sexuality, and all of its cast members got equal pay. The characters grew up with their audience. It wasn't all about chilling with your friends and doing nothing. The show celebrated change, growing up, having kids, and actual adulting. At the end of it, all the members of the gang were settled in their professional lives and felt comfortable with their place in the world, something all young adults crave and find comforting. Friends has remained relatable and will remain so in the years to come. And by the looks of it, it will continue being a money making machine as well.